Hello Jacksonites, and welcome to my second review of the Godzilla franchise. And we are now looking at the infamous Americanized version of the original Gojira, Godzilla King of the Monsters. My history with Godzilla King of the Monsters is a bit strange. This was the first version of Gojira that I ever saw. Part of it was because I liked the title, and at the time I also didn't know what Gojira means. I just thought it was a different movie altogether. When I see Godzilla King of the Monsters in the title, I initially thought it was the first Godzilla movie. I actually thought this was the superior cut to Gojira for quite a few years, even after I saw the original Gojira. Up until the age of about 16 was when I finally started to see the flaws in this film and finally understand that Gojira is the vastly superior film. The reason I say this film is infamous is because this film was so heavily altered that it ended up becoming its own film. This would unfortunately happen quite a lot to a lot of early Showa-era kaiju films. Arguably the most infamous case would be Baron the Unbelievable from 1958. When that film was released in the States, it was heavily chopped down to be about 70 minutes long. It was packaged as just a generic monster movie from the 50s, and oh my god, the acting in the American scenes was just terrible. And unfortunately, that's kind of the case with King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters was the prototype of Americanized kaiju films, and you can definitely see that it's very rough around the edges. There's a lot of technical aspects about this film that are pretty bad, which some of them are understandable because this was the prototype Americanized kaiju film, but there's still flaws nonetheless. I'm not going to do a plot synopsis of the film. I'm just going to describe what's different about the film and what's bad and what's good. So what's different about the film? Obviously, it is recut and repackaged and re-edited to be more like a generic 50s atomic monster movie, which the original Gojira somewhat is at its barest roots, but it also has more than that. It has thought-provoking images, it has thought-provoking messages, thought-provoking allegory, serious, grim, and dark situations, serious characters. The atomic allegory isn't necessarily cut out, but it's kind of downplayed. Godzilla's attack on Tokyo is still a very grim scene, but it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the film, because the rest of the film, it's not comical or campy for that matter at all. It's just the serious, dark, and grim tone of Gojira. It feels very played down throughout the rest of the film. When compared to other dubbed performances, this movie really does irk me in a lot of wrong ways. And I know because it's the prototype, it's going to be rough around the edges. The people who dubbed the characters in King of the Monsters, they only had 3 voice actors. 1 female and 2 male. One of the males voiced younger men throughout the film, and the other male voiced older men throughout the film. For the most part, it's done okay. I mean, no dub actor really gives a good performance per se. I would just say they give competent performances, you know, just to make the characters move the plot along. But there's a couple of scenes where one character is speaking in like the young man voice, and then a couple times the character will switch voice actors from the young man to the old man. And it's a very jarring transition to hear 2 different voices come out of one character. And not to mention, all of the voices, they just sound kind of monotone. And listening to the dubbed performances talk, it became a chore to sit through. Oh, the editing in this film too it's very choppy, the best way I can put it. They reorganized scenes throughout the film that just absolutely make no sense. The biggest example was when Dr. Yamane met with like the Japanese council to try to decide what to do with Godzilla, and as to try to kill him or just let him be or just to do something about him in general. That happens at around the midpoint of the film, but in King of the Monsters, that scene is moved to like the first 15 minutes of the film. It doesn't click. And also other editing choices that they make, it's just kind of like a disjointed, sloppy mess. That's the best way I can put it. You know, scenes are out of order. There's like really quick frames here and there. It's just a sloppy mess. And also the pacing is very inconsistent throughout the film. A lot of scenes do drag, and it's strange because this film is, I would say it's about 15 minutes shorter. Gojira was an hour and 37 minutes. I would say this film is 80 to 82 minutes. And even though it's significantly shorter than Gojira, there are a few scenes that do drag and just feel like they go on forever. It doesn't help that you have to listen to all these dull, monotonous performances done by the dub actors. With all this bad stuff going for the film, are there any good things to it? Yes. One is Godzilla himself. He's portrayed still quite well. He's still threatening. He has that imposing nature. He's still a walking atomic bomb. And arguably the best scene of the film is, of course, his rampage on Tokyo. But what makes that rampage on Tokyo a little better, actually, is Raymond Burr's performance. Raymond Burr was spliced into this film to give the American audience somebody to cling on to, and not all these foreign Japanese actors. Raymond Burr pulls off, I would argue it's one of his best performances. For those of you who don't know, Raymond Burr is the actor who portrayed the villain in Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. And of course, his most famous role is as the amazing Perry Mason in Ironside. Raymond Burr seemed like he committed himself to making a very good performance in this film. This didn't seem like just a paycheck to him at all, actually. And some of the dialogue that he gives throughout the film, I would say it's spectacular. Arguably his best line in the entire film is during Godzilla's attack on Tokyo. He coins the famous term, "Godzilla has turned the heart of Tokyo into a sea of fire. Beneath the flames, thousands lie dead or dying." But other than that, this film, it really just is a generic 50s monster movie. It has most of the good things about Gojira cut out of it. Like I said, the atomic allegory, it's still there, but it is still downplayed. The characters, they're just demoted to generic 50s monster movie characters. Do I recommend this film? No. It's obsolete compared to Gojira, because Gojira is much more readily available, and you should just watch Gojira because it's the far superior film. The only reason that you should watch this movie is for Raymond Burr's performance. He pulls it off very well. So I'm going to give this film a 5 out of 10. It's not a very good film, especially compared to Gojira, but if you're curious, it's certainly not boring, but it's not Oscar worthy either. So post your comments down below, let me know what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends, and as always, I will see you in the next video.